Yeah, so these are the topics today we are going to start our batch. So I just want to tell you these are the major topics which would be covered as a part of ETL testing. As a part of ETL testing, the major topics will be covered is ETL testing, BI reporting testing, and BI report testing. I can write it: BI report testing, then Unix manual testing, quality center, Jira. And above all, we will learn the main important language, that is nothing but your SQL. We'll also go through the project classes, and then we will have the CV preparation. Then we will have the mock interview, and finally the interview questions, and then clearing of interviews. So these are the total things which will happen in this particular class, in this particular session. You have to be serious for this 2 month, and this, if you prepare all these things within after 2 months, within 1 month, means maximum I can take 3 months, you can change your job or get a job, or I can tell you that you can just if you are coming for knowledge, you will have a great knowledge on ETL testing. So these are the things we are going to do in this particular sessions. Now the ETL testing, we will learn the ETL tools. Now the ETL tool we will learn is Informatica, where we will provide this software to you. Above all, we will also provide you the materials, recording, class notes. So this is the way we will proceed, so that each and everything is learned by you and understood by you. Okay, so this is the way we will proceed. Okay, so today's session, what is the thing we are going to learn? I have already told. Okay, there is also something called as scheduling tool, which also I will try to cover as a part of the syllabus. Okay, so this is the total package which will be covered in this particular session. Okay, now after this particular syllabus, we want to start from SQL, because the SQL is the basic and the most necessary thing for this particular syllabus. Okay, so we'll just try to start with the SQL, and then we will proceed from there, because SQL is the most preliminary thing and the most important thing when we learn ETL. Okay, so I will start with the SQL first, and then I will proceed, because we have the software also, SQL plus and all. So we'll proceed from there. And 1 second. Yeah, so SQL is the most necessary thing, and from here we will proceed with our works and all. So first thing, I wanted to start from the SQL, and the most important thing, and then we will go to the ETL testing, and then we will move to the BI reporting, Unix, and everything similarly. But the most important part and the basic thing, what is required to learn a particular ETL testing, is nothing but your SQL. So I don't know how you have some idea or not. Let me just I forgot the name. Yeah, Ramakrishna, you have some idea of SQL or not? I'm telling, do you have any preliminary knowledge on SQL, anything or no?
No, actually, I'm from my background is manual testing. So yeah.
Okay, okay, very good, very good. No problem, no problem. Divya is not having, that's fine. So SQL, we will start with the SQL. So SQL is a language, okay, to interact. SQL is a language to interact with the database. Okay, SQL is a language, first of all, like English is a language, Hindi is a language, Kannada is a language, Tamil is a language, Telugu is a language. So like that, SQL is a language to interact with the database. Okay. So first thing you have understood, SQL is nothing but SQL is a language to interact with the database. Like English is a language to interact with the human beings, SQL is a language to interact with the database. Full form of SQL, if you know, is what? Structured Query Language. Full form of SQL is structured query language, and is a language to interact with the database. So when I tell you database, to understand database, you have to know what is a data. Anyone knows? Both of you, do you know what is a data? Any idea what is a data? If someone will ask you what is a data.
It should have a meaningful uh, words or something like, we'll call it as a data.
Yes, any meaningful information. If I tell, that becomes data, right? Any meaningful. If I tell what is the data, so what will tell? Any meaningful information is a data. So I start from the very basic. What is a data? There's any meaningful information, name of a person, place, anything you take, which gives some meaning, that becomes a data. Now these datas are stored in a place called as what? Database. So what is database? Database is defined as a collection of data in the form of tables. That means we are collecting the data in the form of tables. That is our database. So SQL is a language to interact with the database. What is database? Is a collection of data in the form of tables. That means what? There is a table, and from the table, so let us just see in a pictorial diagram so that we can just get a clarity what we want to tell. Okay, let me just open the paint. So guys, oh yeah, so this is a particular, suppose I make it as a database. Okay, DB means database. Now from this database, I want to fetch the data. In database, what will happen? There will be data. Now to fetch the data from the database, I need a language. That language is nothing but your SQL. So this language SQL, what will happen? We will use this language to fetch the data from the database. And what is database? Database is collection of data in the form of what? Tables. So this is a table. Suppose in this table, what happens? There are data. Okay. So now I want to fetch the data from this table. So what is the language what we are using? We are using the language called as SQL. Are you able to understand this particular diagram or not? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so what is SQL? SQL is a language to interact with the database. What is database? Database is collection of data in the form of tables. So now if I tell you, can you define table? What is a table? How will you define a table?
Collection of the data in the form of rows and columns.
Collections of information. Data.
Yes, so you can tell that table is nothing. What is a table? If you see the diagram of a table, what is this? These are called as rows, okay, and these are called as what? Columns. So I can tell table is nothing but a collection of rows and columns, because table is nothing. It is having only what? Rows, and it is only having columns. So we can tell it as what? Table is a collection of what? Rows and columns. Is it clear or not? Tell me yes, no.
Yes.
Yes.
So table is a collection of rows and columns. If you tell someone what is a table, you can just tell it's a collection of what? Rows and columns. There are rows and columns, and if we collect it, it becomes a table. So now if you know what is a table, now what is the SQL? So SQL is a language to interact with database. Database is a collection of data in the form of tables. Table is collection of rows and columns. So if you know till this much, then the next thing comes. If in this diagram, this is a table, then it comes, the next thing is, What is this one? What is a cell? What is a cell? Can you see this bracket? This is called a cell. This is called as what? A particular cell. So my question is, what is a cell? Can you just tell me what is a cell?
Intersection of row and column.
Intersection of rows and columns. These are rows, these are columns where they have intersected. That is nothing but a cell. This is also a cell. Why it is a cell? Because it is also an intersection of what? This particular rows and this particular column. Wherever they have intersected, this becomes a cell. The cell is nothing but intersection of what? Rows and columns is called as nothing but the cell. So this is a particular cell. Okay. So cell is nothing but, so if I have to write cell, what I can write? Intersection okay, yeah, sorry, intersection of rows and columns are called as cell. Now rows are also called as what? Rows are also called as tuple. Column is also called as what? Attribute. And table is also called as what? Entity. Have you heard about that? Entity. Table is also called as entity. Okay. Now these three things you have understood. The next thing is what? Now what is a query? Next comes is the next very important thing, query. Next thing comes is what is a query? Query is nothing but questioning to the database. Suppose a query, a person has a query. I want to go to, suppose I want to go to Mumbai. So this is my query. So how can I go? So this is a query. So another person can give the answer. You can go to Mumbai by a flight, by a train, by a bus, whatever route is possible. So that is an answer. So that is what is the query. Query is nothing but your questioning to the database. Query is what? Questioning to the database. You are questioning this particular database. In return of this, it will give answer or not? Tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Yeah, if you ask a query, if you ask that I want to go to Mumbai, the next person will give you answer. Yes, you can go by a flight. So this is what is an answer given to a query. So query is nothing but a question. Query is nothing but a question. So this question in the form of SQL, in with respect to SQL, what is this question? Query is nothing but a questioning. Questioning to whom? Questioning to the database. Are you able to understand? Tell me yes, no. Guys, can you understand what is query? Query is
Yes.
query is
Yes.
questioning to whom? Questioning to the database. Query is not,
Database.
yes, query is not questioning to a person over here. With respect to SQL, whom we will question? We'll question to the database. Okay, give me such kind of data, give me this kind of data, give me that kind of data. That is nothing but a query. So what is a query? What is a query? Query is nothing. Query is questioning to the database. Query is nothing but what? Questioning to the database. Are you able to understand? Tell me yes, no. Query is what?
Yes.
Questioning to the database.
Database.
So once you have understood, this is the very basic thing. This first class is very important and very basic things, because your when you learn ETL testing, next level will be Hadoop testing, next level will be cloud testing. You will be completely become a data scientist from this particular profession. You can become a completely a data scientist, because you will learn only about the backend. Backend means what? Suppose you open a Facebook and you start sorry, what is this coming? Yeah, if you interact with Facebook, what will happen is what? You start interacting with Facebook, then what happens? This particular Facebook, when you access it from the front end, it becomes what? It is what? A front end application. But if you interact from the back, that becomes a back end testing. Okay, so are you understanding what is a front end testing and what is a back end testing? Front end testing is what? You test an application. I have to test this application from the front end. I have to click on home button. This is front end. But this particular user who has logged in here, who is using this application, the data are stored in the back in the database. That is nothing but the back end. So you have to understand two things. One is the front end and one is the back end. So guys, so I just wanted to tell you this front end is different, this back end is different, and we are interacting, we are we are going to test the application from the backend. What is this red line coming? One second, let me just save this. Okay, let it come. So we are going to interact the session from the backend. Backend means what? We are going to interact the session from the database. Whatever testing we will do for an application, that will be nothing, that will be from the front end. Okay. If we test the application, the data which are coming here, suppose I log in a Facebook application. So now what happens? If you log in a Facebook application, what happens? Can you just tell me? If you log in a Facebook application, username will come. Suppose username is Vikram. Vikram has logged into the application. In the Facebook, you can see Vikram has come, but in the database side, you can see what? You can see what? That particular user name, that particular Vikram is there or not. So these are the very, very basic class and very, very basic thing which you need to learn, because in this session you will come to know the basic part of the application, that is nothing but your front end and your back end system. And from the data is a very, very important thing. Your concept should be completely clear. What is a query, what is a database, what is a table, what is a schema? So these things, if you are completely clear, then you become an ETL tester, BI reporting tester, and then you can learn so many things and you can become even a data scientist. So the basic concept should be very, very clear, and it should be very, very crystal clear. Yes. Next, now we are going to learn something called a schema. Have you heard about schema? Schema is nothing but your folder structure in a database. Folder structure in the database. Schema is nothing but your folder structure in the database. Okay. So folder structure in the database means what? Suppose I go to a particular paint. Okay. Let me just close this particular application. Yeah, so let me just open a paint. Yeah, just ignore this red lines. I don't know why it is coming. Let's just ignore this. Yes, let us just come here. Now in this paint, if I want to, wait. Yeah, so now if I want to know about what is a, so this is a particular database. I call it, this is a database. Okay, this is a particular database. So this is a particular database. Now what will happen is, this is called a schema. This is a folder structure. Like in a computer, what will happen? There is a D drive where you create a folder called as movies. Have you created a folder as movies, songs, pictures? These are nothing but the folder structure. Like that, this is a particular folder structure. These are the four folder structure. This is what called as schema one. This is called a schema one. This is called a schema two. This is called a schema 3. This is called a schema 4. So this is nothing but your schema. So nothing but a folder structure. In a kitchen you go, that kitchen becomes a database. In that you have created some racks. So these racks are nothing but your schema. And inside this schema, there is something called as what? There is something called as tables. So these are nothing but your tables. These are nothing but in that racks, what happens? In that racks, what happens? You have further divided into a box for potato, a box for apple, a box for grapes, a box for another vegetable. So these are nothing but your tables. And inside table, what will be there? Guys, can you tell me inside a table, what are the things will be present?
Data.
Inside, yeah, data will be there, but what is actually in the table? There is something called as rows and columns.
Rows.
Table is having what? Rows and columns, and inside that rows and column, there is something called as what? Data. Correct or not?
Data.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we will tell, first thing is what? If I take the first thing is what? First thing is what? Your database. Inside database, there is something called as what? Schema. Inside schema, there is something called as what? Table. And inside table, there is something called as data. Are you clear with this structure? Tell me yes, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you clear with this schema, this structure? This structure should be very, very clear, okay? That what is a schema, what is a database? From now onwards, if I tell I'm using a particular database, then I will be able to understand it. Okay, database means is a place where data will be stored in a table. So inside database, there will be tables from where the data will be fetched. So your concept should be crystal clear. Okay, he's talking about database, that means he's talking about tables where from he will fetch the data. Are you able to understand? Tell me yes, no.
Yes.
Tell me yes, no, yes. So this is the primary class. So this is a particular software where we will learn, okay, SQL. And see, the SQL Plus is a software where we will write the query. Okay, SQL Plus is a software where we will write the query, okay, to write the query in SQL language to get the data from database. Okay, so the thing is, SQL Plus is not SQL. SQL Plus is a software where we will write what? Where we will write the query to get the data from the database. So let us see from the picture point of view. So let us just see from the picture point of view. Okay, so let us just see from the picture point of view. Okay, so guys, so this is a particular software, this is a particular database. Okay, consider this as database. Let us write here, this is a particular database. Now this is a particular software called as what? SQL Plus. This is a software called as what? SQL Plus. Now in this SQL Plus, this is a software. Is it SQL? SQL and SQL Plus are different or same?
Different.
Why it is different? Because here we will write the what? Here we will write the queries. Where we will write the queries? In a software called as SQL Plus. So this is a software. SQL Plus is a software. And what happens? SQL is not SQL Plus. SQL Plus is a software where we will write what? Where we will write the queries. Using which language? SQL. Using which language? What is full form of SQL? What is full form of SQL?
Structural query language.
Structured query language. So in this SQL Plus software, we will write a queries in SQL language, which in return will give the data from where? From the database. Which will give the data from where? From the database. And we will get the output in this software called as SQL Plus. Are you able to understand, guys? Are you able to understand, guys? See, the first thing you have to understand is what is SQL Plus and what is SQL and what is a query and what is a database, which I have already explained you. SQL Plus is a software. SQL Plus is a software where we will write the query. This query is written via a language called as SQL. Now, after writing the query via the language SQL, it will interact with database. And for this query, will the database give an answer or not? Tell me yes, no.
Yes.
So it will give an answer, and this answer can be seen where? In the SQL Plus. Are you able to understand? Tell me yes, no.
Yes.
I told you what is SQL. SQL is a language to interact with what? Database. I told you what is a query. Query is nothing but a questioning to the database. In return, what will happen? Database will give an answer or not? Tell me yes, no.
Yes.
Yes, it will give answer, right? So this is SQL plus software. So if I double click here, here the username for score, just I will write down. See, the username for username and password for SQL plus is Scott Tiger. Slash means what you know. Username is Scott and password is what? Tiger. Are you clear with this thing? Tell me yes, no.
Yes.
Yes. So what we have to give the username? We have to give the username as Scott, password as Tiger. Okay, guys. So now here we can. There's something called a set line size, page size. Those things I will tell you later when I will teach you SQL. So here just I am just writing some queries as of now. Okay. So now what I wanted to tell you guys, this is a particular query I have written. Select a star from EMP. This is what is a query. This is what is a query. What is select, what is star, what is from, those things we will discuss later. As of now, this is a query. So this query we have written. Now this query we have written in which software? Can you just tell me?
Informatica.
This query we have written in which software?
SQL plus.
SQL plus. So what happened after writing the query? The query will get an answer or not? Tell me yes, no. Guys, tell me the query will get an answer or not?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So is this the answer? What is the answer? You are telling a question, select a star from EMP. In return, database has given this particular answer. Okay, this is the employee number, this is the e-name, job, hire, managing, hired at, salary, commission, department number. So this is the answer you are getting with respect to this particular question. Are you able to understand? Tell me yes, no.
Yes, yeah.
So this is a question we have asked. This is the answer we are getting. This is a software Oracle SQL Plus. We are learning there are a lot of databases. Okay, we are learning one particular database that is nothing but the Oracle. There is SQL Server, MySQL, DB2, Teradata. So many databases are there, which we will discuss. But as of now, we are learning Oracle SQL Plus. In this software, we have we have written a query. We are questioning to the database. In return, we are getting the answers. Okay. Next. So did you understood now SQL plus? Tell me yes, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes, guys. So if you have understood SQL plus, the next thing we are going to learn is what you know. If we have learned this SQL plus and we are very clear that what is SQL plus, what is a particular SQL and what is the language and all, then we are clear with this particular concepts. Then we are going to learn something called as RDBMS. I don't know how many of you have heard about this name. Relational Database Management System. In your college days, have you heard about this RDBMS?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
Yes. Yes.
and there's something called as DBMS,
Yeah.
Database
DBMS, database management system.
Management System. See, RDBMS, you know what happens? There's a relationship between the tables can be established. Okay. So okay. Relationship between the tables can be established. So once we can establish the relationship between the tables, then it is called as what? RDBMS. And if we cannot establish the relationship between the tables, that is nothing but your DBMS. That means only there will be tables, but these tables, there is no relationship between the tables. No relationship between the tables. Then it is called as what? DBMS. Okay. So RDBMS is separate, DBMS is software. In RDBMS, we can establish the relationship between the tables. Okay. And this is basically, this is a software. So RDBMS or DBMS is a software, and it is a software. And after installing the software, we can create our own database, tables, etc. So there is a software, after you install, you can create our own database, tables, and all those things. So like RDBMS example is like Oracle SQL Server, and then MySQL, and then DB2, Teradata, etc. Okay, so these are the example of what example of RDBMS. Okay, so